okay, let's talk about Aaron Rodgers, right? So you talked about AFC North.
Yeah.
And this week, well, 2 weeks ago, we saw that Aaron Rodgers ended this off-season show with like, where is he going to sign? People talked about him going to Rams. People talked about him going to the Vikings,
Yeah.
and people even talked about him retiring. Ultimately, he ended up in with the Steelers. The
Yeah.
Steelers were busy themselves. They traded away George Pickens, went and signed DK. So it
Yeah.
seems like it's going to be the Aaron Rodgers and DK show. So I guess let's talk about Aaron Rodgers. What is the realistic expectation for the Steelers? Because you're familiar with the AFC North, and how do you feel about China?
Yeah. So I mean, for me personally, bro, I had a feeling A-Rod was going to end up in Pittsburgh, especially after the draft when the Vikings never they pretty much said, hey, we're going to stick with JJ. After that, I mean, his only choice was to go to Pittsburgh or retire. Like that was literally it, because New York obviously didn't want him back. So I think that Pittsburgh needed a quarterback for one, because they would have to start the season with Will Howard or what's buddy's name, Mason Rudolph, and that was going to lead to Mike Tomlin losing his job. So like Aaron Rodgers, I know he was not Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers and Mike Tomlin were very happy to get that deal done, both of them, because Aaron gets another year of some money. They got like 1 year, 13 million, up to 19 million with incentives, and then Mike gets to keep a job for another year. Because like I said, if he had started the season with Mason or Will, it would have been a long and last season in Pittsburgh. Because those fans, man, they're diehard fans, but they're also fans that they know that they can win, right? Because Pittsburgh with Mike there, has always just had the opportunity to win. And so I think with Aaron Rodgers, it gives them the best chance to win. However, they're still not winning the division this year. Baltimore's going to win the division. I think it's going to be a runaway. I think that, I mean, you still worry about Cincinnati offensively, but Pittsburgh defensively is always stacked up. Even in this last draft, they went ahead and got 2 or 3 more guys in the first couple of rounds. Didn't even address the offense, right? I don't think they got a quarterback in Will to like the 5th round, maybe 6th round. And so, I mean, offensively, they necessarily didn't put that much time in. Now, they did trade for DK, but then they wound up trading away George Pickens, like you just mentioned a minute ago. And so it's really going to be interesting to see, to me, in the AFC North, kind of what the identity is. With Aaron Rodgers, you would think it's going to be a pass-first offensive team now versus a run-heavy team. Of course, once again, Najee Harris is in LA now, so he's gone at running back. And so it's like, okay, who replaces that production that he has out there with them? And so I think that into the division wise, they can now fight for second place with Cincinnati. But it's also going to be dependent on what happens in Cleveland, because as much as the Cleveland Browns suck, if Shador gets an opportunity to come up on that depth chart, then they can make something shake with Shador as the starting quarterback. I think they'll probably wind up starting off with Joe Flacco, as they should. I know they have Kenny Pickett and Dylan Gabriel, but I think that I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what's going to transpire. But I think that they got some more young guys. They drafted Judkins out of Ohio State, running back, to replace what the production that Chubb had given them. They went ahead and receiver core wise, they still got Judy out there. They still got Njoku out there. They still had a couple other guys sprinkled in. And defensively wise, once again, you just paid a huge contract to Myles Garrett. Drafted Mason Graham with the 5th overall pick. Was it? Yeah, it was Mason Graham. They went ahead and got. I'm missing somebody. Was it Mason Graham? I thought okay.
They got I forget. They got Dylan in the 3rd round. I don't know who they got.
That's true. They did get Dylan 3rd. Like Judkins. They must have got Judkins in the 2nd. Though.
Yeah, you're right.
So, yeah, I think that, like I said, depending on kind of how that plays out, it can be 3-way between those 3 teams in Pittsburgh, Cincinnati, and Cleveland to see who can really come up. Now, I'm going to give the nod to Cincinnati just because, I mean, Joe Burrow, T, and Shemar, I mean, they put up crazy numbers, but the defense sucks. And as you see right now, they go through a crazy controversy with Shemar Stewart. Not want to pay him his money. Trey Hendrickson, who's pretty much been top in the league in sacks for the past 2 seasons, not trying to pay him a new extension. So that's going to be very interesting to see what happens in Cincinnati. So I don't have to say this.
What's a successful season for Aaron Rodgers?
That's what I said. I still have to say this. I think successfully for him, if he can come in, lead Pittsburgh to the playoffs and come in 2nd in the division, that's successful for them. That's successful for them. He comes in that first year, gets things together, comes 2nd in the division, puts them in a playoff wild card berth. That's successful for them.
Okay, so let me ask you this. So Pittsburgh made the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And they got blown out, right? The first game.
Yeah.
If the same thing happens, they get blown out this season, is Mike Tomlin the head coach of the Steelers next season?
Yes, I'm gonna say yes, and I'll tell you why. I believe that once again, the fans may be going restless. They may want to win, but I mean, it's what he's been doing for the past. They haven't won a playoff game in what, almost 10 years.
Yeah.
And he's still there. He's still there. So I mean, as long as they continue to be mediocre, I mean, clearly he's getting the job done. And I think what Mike's thing has always been, as long as we have a winning season, you know.
Yeah.
Now don't get me wrong, Mike has been a winner in his career. He's won multiple Super Bowls in Pittsburgh, but this team, this era of Pittsburgh, just isn't the same. And I know the Pittsburgh Steelers fans are gonna be on my head about this because I'm a Ravens fan, and they're gonna say it's hate, and it partially is hate for sure. But there's also partial truth to this as well. Like you have to look at the Steelers in their totality and say yes, they're always gonna be defensive heavy, just like Baltimore is. Like they focus on what they focus on, but the difference is offensively wise, we've taken leaps and bounds to make sure that to ensure that our number 8 and your number 8 is two different number 8s. Your number 8, 41 years old. Like you're just not gonna get that kind of production out of Aaron Rodgers, and so once again, after this season, you're in another predicament of who's my quarterback. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think that's the main issue. It's like you get Aaron Rodgers, and it's not guaranteed he's going to be healthy the whole season. And then last year, he was healthy the whole year and didn't necessarily have the most productive season in New York. So I don't know.
I honestly think for that reason that you just outlined, that's why I think Mike Tomlin won't be the coach of the Steelers next season. Because if they go and lose like they did this year in the playoffs,
yeah,
I think it's not going to be Mike Tomlin getting fired. I think it's going to be a step down because I think for TJ Watt, like, he's holding out a minicamp because, he wants a new deal. Mm-hmm. And the question is, do you pay him top of the league, non-quarterback money and he's getting older versus trading him, potentially getting picks and investing those pieces in the offense, right? Yeah. And I think, like you said with the Ravens, I think what y'all do so well is while y'all still have veterans, y'all still have a litter of young talent, right? You have your Kyle Hamiltons, you have people like that who can fill in because you draft well.
Right.
And I think for the Pittsburgh Steelers, they've always drafted a wide receiver well. And that's why I was confused with the DK move. But I think for Mike, it's one of those things where it's like, and the rant I had a couple months ago, but what are we doing? Like, we're not getting anywhere. I feel like Mike is a motivator. He's a team builder. And I think he's going to get a job instantly,
for sure.
The Steelers. But I think for the Steelers, they have to understand that this is a new chapter. And like you said, Aaron's not going to come back because I think at 41, there's only so much you can do. And I think Tom Brady had a perfect situation in Tampa Bay, and he doesn't have that with Pittsburgh Steelers. So I just feel like it needs to be a clean break for both parties.
Agreed. I can see that for sure. And like you said, I can agree with the fact that Mike could just say, I'm done with it too. Like you said, I mean, because I look at it like this, Cam Hayward is probably going to be his last year in Pittsburgh. He's getting up there in age. Him and Aaron Rodgers are almost the same age. I mean, like you said, TJ Watt's holding out. Like, things could crumble quickly after this season. And so it's like, do I want to stay here through a rebuild? Because that's essentially what has to happen. Because once again, with them not choosing a quarterback this year, they're going to have to take a quarterback in the draft next year again. Like you said, with the defensive pieces being lost, DK is signed, but once again, he ain't going to sit through a rebuild. So, y'all paid him, and he might sit there for another season, but after a while, he's going to be like, hey, either y'all pay me some more money, which is going to overall hurt them, or trade me again. So it's like, I don't know, man. Pittsburgh put themselves in an interesting position when they sat through the draft and only strengthened the defense. So
yeah, and like you said, you hope that Shedeur doesn't pop, because if Shedeur pops, then and if Aaron Rodgers retires or is not good, you're gonna have the worst quarterback in the division for the foreseeable future because all the quarterbacks in the division are young. So it's like, what are we fighting with?
Nah, thanks.
So you mentioned the Browns. Let's go down to them. So this Shedeur news, there has been, talk on YouTube, talk on, the internet about how Shedeur has flourished in training camp. Yeah. They said he's currently beating out Dylan Gabriel in terms of that backup slot. Yeah. But we know that the Browns have 4 quarterbacks on their roster. They have Flacco, they have Pickett, they have Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders. How do you think they're going to handle that? Are they going to cut the pick who wins out of Pickett and Flacco? Are they going to cut Gabriel? How are they going to keep it?
Yeah, somebody different losing their job. I don't see Cleveland going into the because you got to look at it like this. Deshaun Watson's still under contract with them. They haven't formally released Deshaun Watson yet.
Yeah,
that's true. 5 quarterbacks on the roster right now. They're not going into the season with 5 quarterbacks on the roster right now. I know Deshaun's not playing this year. He's more than likely going to be on IR this year. They're not going to the season with 4 quarterbacks on the roster. in Cleveland. I think they'll take this preseason, give each of them opportunity to show who can be the best, maybe 3 quarterbacks on the team, or with the way that the new practice squad can go, right? You can have an elevation that way or put people under that way. So I think they're interested this season with 3 quarterbacks on the roster. And then whoever's the 4th odd man out will just either find a new team if they get cut and or get signed to the practice squad. So I think that's going to be the case with them. Like I said, they have a lot of other places that they need assistance in. And so I don't think they're going to try to give 4 positions when you only got 53 of them to quarterbacks. So I think they want to keep in 3, putting somebody on the practice squad. And the thing is, you got to choose somebody that you're okay with being replaced. Because the thing with practice squad is they can get signed to an active roster at any point from any other NFL team. So it's like, okay, if I put Shador in practice squad, am I okay with losing him? If I put Dylan on practice squad, am I okay with losing him? So I think whoever they decide to not keep on the active roster, they have to be okay with letting go when the time does come for someone else may need them. But Cleveland, as once again as an organization, man, just continues to show that I don't necessarily know what they're doing. But I will say this: they're looking a little bit better than Cincinnati is right now. And I know we'll get to them maybe in a little while, but Cleveland, I don't know, man. It's gonna be very interesting to see. I'm really excited. I'm not excited. I want to see how that training camp looks. I can't wait to see. You know, you can only do so much in t-shirts and shorts and helmets, right? So when the pads come on in July and it's hot, I want to see who really come outside and be a man. You know what I'm saying? It's really gonna show me like, okay, is Dylan better than Shador? Did we make the right decision by drafting Shador? Is Shador who we think he is? Is Dylan who we think he is? Like, all that should be answered. And then once again, you get the opportunity throughout the preseason when you get competition versus other NFL teams, because I would argue that the preseason is almost as entertaining now as the regular season. And I only say that because he's got these young guys who are trying to prove themselves. And so they're going extra hard in front of these coaches trying to say, hey, I can make this roster. And so as much as people don't really watch that kind of stuff, I'm going to be watching it to see, because I know Shador should probably have to play a lot of those preseason games to prove his worth. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to be watching intently to say, okay, is he really doing, even though it's against 3s and 4s potentially, right? You got to ball out against them to show that you're worth it. He's been doing it in right now, like I said, in minicamp, but show it when the pass come on.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like that first Cleveland preseason game is probably going to be the most viewed preseason game out of all of them, because everybody's going to be curious. And so what I'm thinking is he can't go into this season being the number 3 quarterback, because the stadium is going to be filled with Sanders jerseys. Everybody's going to be wondering, when is Shador coming in? And this is why the Browns are the Browns, because it's like, do you keep Gabriel? Because if you go straight with Shador, do you like move Dylan Gabriel to your number 3, or do you cut him? Because if you cut him, that means that you wasted a 3rd round pick.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was kind of like when Cam Newton was with the Patriots, right? Cam Newton was a backup, but everybody was just waiting for him to become the starter. And you know, that starting quarterback had to look over their shoulder every time they made a mistake, because it was like, if we ever down in the game, they could easily bench me. And I just feel like that noise is why the Browns are so low class, because it's like, we are trying to get rid of this Deshaun Watson stain, this Deshaun Watson, flop that the owner said. And now I've invited more drama, more news coverage, and it just doesn't make sense. And I think it takes away from the actual X's and O's on the team, because no matter how the Browns perform this season, every time they make a mistake, it's going to be like, is Shador coming in next week? And I think that just brings a lot of unnecessary chaos.
Not as facts. I agree with that wholeheartedly, bro. And I think another thing is that it's like you said, as soon as they start losing a game, or as soon as something like bad happens, they be like, ooh, this could be Shador's time. And I think, like you said, even within the quarterback room, like I saw an article earlier, Joe Flacco has doubled down. When he was in Baltimore, he made a statement when Lamar Jackson got drafted. He's not a mentor. He doesn't He redoubled down on that statement in Cleveland. They asked him about it again with Shador and Dylan coming. He said, I'm not a mentor, Well, then a couple of days ago, he proceeded to take a picture with Dylan Gabriel at like the team photo day or whatever the case was, right? And a couple of days earlier, a video had also surfaced of Shador talking to him and saying, "Hey Joe, like just make a conversation." And Joe was kind of just like, "I don't really like blowing him off." And so it's like, it's interesting because their quarterback room also, you can kind of see also a little bit of divide. The players on the Cleveland Brown team, I've heard some comments from some of the defensive guys, and even some of the offensive guys who said Shador's really polished. You can tell his dad trained him up really well. So it seems like Shador's kind of getting a respect in the locker room versus some of the other quarterbacks. And so it's like it's going to come to a head at some point. So like I said, this Cleveland offseason and this preseason is going to be really interesting. Training camp into preseason is going to be really interesting for them to see how cohesive they are as a unit and who can come out and get that spot. Because somebody's gonna be without a job for sure.
Do you ever see Deshaun Watson taking another snap as a starting quarterback in this league again?
The reason I say yes is because there's a lot of sorry teams that need a quarterback. And I think that I look at somebody like the Raiders. I don't think that Geno's going to be the long-term answer. They paid him for a couple years. He has a couple years maybe left in the tank, right? And so Deshaun may have to subject himself to a backup role and then come back and be a starter again. I look at somebody like the Broncos. We got to see if what's the young boy name out there right now?
Knicks.
Yeah, Knicks. He's going to be the long-term answer. If he's not, do the Broncos take a chance on Deshaun? You know what I'm saying? I feel like somebody's going to have a opportunity for Deshaun to come in and potentially, like I said, be a backup, or if an injury occurs, come in and potentially show us your worth as a starter. We're not paying you what Cleveland paid you at all. I think that day is over. Once he finishes up this contract, that's his last big contract ever. But somebody will come in and give him 1 year, 10, 15 million for sure. I think that's doable for a team that's in desperation or that needs some assistance.
Good. So I'm gonna just put a scenario out, right?
Okay.
So the Browns, let's say they go, they win 4 games, right?
Okay.
They're at the top of the draft. They still have that pick from the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And so they're more likely going to have 2 top picks, right? If there's a quarterback on the board, do you think they still build out their roster and just run with like a Shador or Dylan Gabriel, or do you see them actually going to get another quarterback next season?
It depends on if those 4 wins were with a substantial amount of time played by Shador and or Dylan. Have they had an opportunity to really see them at their full potential? I think if they had played a significant role, then yes, you'd look at another quarterback. But if they've been like, okay, I played Shador maybe 2 games, I played Dylan a game or 2, and I played Joe Flacco for the other remaining games and started Kenny Pickett in reserve, then you got an opportunity to fill out your roster and say, okay, well, let's go back and run it back with either Dylan or Shador and see how that better suits us as a team and organization, right? I think you drafted both of them with either reluctantly or willingly to say, okay, they could potentially be something here in Cleveland. So I think it would be idiotic as an organization to say, okay, I'm going to go spend a first-round pick on another quarterback, and then you run into, once again, another year of, needing a thing. 1 second, I need to take this call, brother. My bad.
I go to the main screen. Yeah, so I think what John was saying was right. I think they have Hello? They have different options, right? And I think the Browns are really a low class organization, right? For many reasons. And the only thing with the Browns, though, is that I think they're on borrowed time, because you have like Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett pleaded with the ownership that they needed to have a plan. We saw that with the offseason hard nuts, whatever. And their plan seems to be chaotic. And I know that Myles Garrett ultimately wants to win. And with that division, I don't know necessarily if he will be able to. So it's going to be interesting to see, like, if Myles Garrett is on the roster next year and what they do and how they handle that. I think they have a lot of good pieces. But ultimately, I think this year is pivotal in terms of not just Andrew Berry, but also Kevin Stefanski, because I feel like at the end of the day, when you could see that cutaway shot when they drafted Shador, I don't think either of them wanted him. And I think this was from up top as in ownership. But yeah, it's going to be real interesting. So, all right, so let's move on. So I feel like the biggest talk of the offseason has been with the Cincinnati Bengals for the wrong reasons. So recently they drafted the Texas A&M defensive tackle Shemar Stewart, and they had signed T. Higgins, they signed Jamar Chase, and they signed Mason. They signed their other draft picks, but Shemar Stewart was holding out. And people thought that Shemar Stewart was being jealous. Shemar Stewart was being greedy with his money. But it came out recently, Shemar Stewart went off on the front office. And Shemar Stewart was saying that they were trying to insert this new clause where, if he had any issues or didn't meet any of the standards, if he got injured, then all of his guarantees would be wiped away. And also on the defensive end, we see with Trey Hendrickson. Trey Hendrickson has been going with has been in the contract dispute ever since this past season, right? And so for the last 5 months, they've been struggling getting those two contracts under order. And I kind of want to talk about Cincinnati's strategy, because we know Cincinnati historically has been a team that has struggled early in the season. And I think if they lose early in the season this year, then it's going to be some real problems, because I don't think Zach Taylor is coming back if they miss the playoffs. I think Joe is going to be angry, and there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be questioning a lot of roles in Cincinnati in terms of hot seat from general manager all the way down to, the end of the bench. So I guess let's start with the Bengals front office. We kind of talked in the group chat about how the Bengals are sorry in terms of their front office management. How do you feel as a AFC North fan about not just the Browns organization, but now the Bengals organization that seems dysfunctional as well? Okay.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, I think for me, bro, I think about the Bengals organization, bro. Right now, they look piss poor. They really do. They really do look piss poor. It's kind of sad. Like, I laugh because they're in my division, and I'm like, y'all suck. But it's also sad because I'm like you said, looking at Shemar. At first, I was like, Shemar, like, why are you going so crazy? Like, you've never played down of NFL football. I'm thinking it's like over guarantees and things like that. I'm like, your college production doesn't necessarily warrant this kind of behavior from you. But when it came out to light that the Bengals are trying to add in this clause that they've never added in before for any other draft pick, it's like, I get your frustration. You know what I'm saying? Like, how y'all just want to kind of just try to make me the guinea pig for this? And it's like, nah, I don't want to subject myself to that, and I shouldn't have to. And I understand that, right? Because like, how you're saying like, let me cover myself before I even touch the field. So because of that, why would I want to play for you right now until you decide that you want to pay me or like give me something else? You know what I'm saying? Like, and because y'all are not budging, it's like y'all trying to make me look bad. You know what I'm saying? I think that organizationally wise, who also in a contract dispute with your top defensive player in Trey Hendrickson, it's like this doesn't look good for y'all in regards to anything. Like you just mentioned a minute ago, if y'all don't get these two things resolved before the season begins, it looks really bad for y'all. Because defensively, y'all suck. Like, y'all have nobody if Trey Hendrickson doesn't play and the Shemar Stewart doesn't play. I mean, it's going to look really bad defensively wise. So, yeah, you might put up 40 points with Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Shemar, but you're getting 45 scored on you and still losing the game because your defense can stop literally no one. And that was the issue last year. That's been the issue for the past, since Joe Burrow has been drafted. The defense has been absolutely abysmal. I mean, they can't stop a water leak. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just been really bad for them. And so to see that they continue to have defensive struggles, knowing that they're not a good defensive team, is beyond me. It's like you would think you would kind of try to not break the bank, but open up your checkbook and say, hey, you've been really productive defensively wise. Trey Hendrickson leading the league pretty much with 18 sacks the past 2 seasons. Like, you don't get that kind of production often. This is not like an everyday occurrence. You know what I'm saying? So like the fact that they just refused to give him an extension and then just saying, well, just play under your current deal. Nah, I'm not going for that if I'm Trey Hendrickson either. And then with Shemar, it's like, yeah, nah, I'm not going to go for that either when you've never done this to anyone else. Had this been a standard, had this been a norm for y'all, cool, that makes more sense. But you're just saying, yeah, we're going to start with you and you're going to have to go with it. Nah. When I read the article the other day that he has the option to sit out the season and be redrafted, in 2026, that's the first time I've ever heard that in my entire life. I've never heard of a player like sitting out a season and being redrafted. You know what I'm saying? And then we had a whole discussion after that about, would he be drafted in the first round and da-da-da-da. And so you're putting yourself at risk if you decide to take that route. But also at this current moment, it's like the team doesn't even believe in me enough to stay healthy, to pay me. So it's like, don't even want to play for this organization. So you're kind of, it's a really interesting battle because, shoot, I didn't think they were going to be able to pay T. Higgins. I knew they were going to pay Jamar because they had to. He won Triple Crown. I didn't think it was going to pay T. But shout out to the agent who works actually for both of them. So he made that joint work for them. Like you said, Joe doesn't like losing, but shoot, you're gonna miss the playoffs again, mess around with this front office. So I don't know what has to happen. And since now I don't know, somebody needs to do a contract restructure offensively to help the defense out. But something got to give, bro, because I mean Joe Burrow can't score 45 points every game and expect to win. That's just not gonna happen.
Absolutely. And I think the biggest thing for me is what is the message you're sending to your locker room? Because your top draft pick is not even at camp. So he can't just come back to camp and just learn the playbook in 2 weeks.
Nah, facts.
What does that even look like in terms of your defense? Trey Hendrickson, your top. So I don't know who else they have on their defensive line, but it's like your top essential pieces aren't there, taking reps. And it's not like y'all have lockdown corners where you can keep, you cannot have a good pass rush. Mm-hmm. And like you said, there's just going to be constant shootouts. And I just don't understand. We're talking about something minuscule in terms of the overall cap space. Right. His rookie contract is not going to hurt you. It's like just money with just give him fully guaranteed, over the course of 4 years. And if you mess up, then you're not taking the hit as much.
Yep.
And like you mentioned, Joe, I feel like, Joe at this point, we thought that when he went to the Super Bowl that this was going to be a reoccurring thing between him and Mahomes. But if you look at these past couple of years, his stats have been great, but in terms of winning and production, it hasn't. And I think this really puts a taint on his legacy, and I think he understands that as well. And I just think the Browns are really doing him a disservice. And I think the more that this drama piles on, it's like I'm questioning if Joe will be a Bengal for life.
Yeah, that's true, bro. That's actually a very good point. Because like you said, I need to go somewhere where I can get some help. And yes, I have a crazy receiving core, but I mean, you got to have defense. Defense wins championships. Clearly, in Cincinnati, that if it's true nowhere else, it's true in Cincinnati. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen what it looked like since your beginning of your career with no defense. And he's coming from LSU. We had a stellar defense. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like, you've seen what that defense was like at LSU. And so, like, to come to Cincinnati with nothing, and yeah, he led him to the Super Bowl, but it's like he literally had to fight and claw every single week, every single game. And it's like, bro, clearly he hasn't been working for him the past 2-3 years. Because he hasn't been back since. He hasn't even been to a championship game since. So it's like, I mean, he did go to the championship game, excuse me. He hasn't been to he had made the playoffs last year. And the year before that, they only won like one game. So it's like, nah, it's clearly he's needed some help. And so it's like, even with the money that y'all paid me, after this money's gone, I'm going to be gone too.
Yeah, yeah. And they have no excuse because when you look at the Ravens and you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, they're able to get these deals done. Like they have A.J. Brown, they have Devonta Smith, like you had Saquon Barkley, and a stellar defense. These kind of things, when you were making the Super Bowl, you had to think 5 years out and say, hey, we're going to draft, we're going to develop, we're going to build this team in a way we can keep stars and retain on this roster. Right. And it's like that's where good front offices separate from great front offices. And I think the Bengals are below that and below average.
Yeah.
So let's switch over to the Ravens. So I like yourself. I have them winning the division. I just feel like for the sake of consistency and less drama, I would give them the nod. But how are you feeling about the Ravens going into this offseason with the mini camps and into next season?
Man, I tell you what, bro. I have really been locked in with Ravens content this year in regards to watching us and what we've been doing, the guys we've been re-signing, the guys we've been signing. I really have been like, just want to make sure we on the up and up, right? And I think the draft did us really good. I watched the Ravens Wire the other day, and I was just looking at Malachi Starks, who will now be the starting safety because our Darius Washington, is going down. I think even had our Darius not gone down with this ACL injury, I think that Malachi would have eventually just played himself into a starting position. I've heard nothing but good things from the Ravens organization, from the players, from all the content I've been reading about Malachi. I've heard nothing but good things. I'm super excited to see what he does this year in Baltimore. Defensively, like I said, pairing him with Kyle Hamilton. We got Marlowe. I think Nate Wiggins takes a big jump in year 2 for him at corner. We went ahead and signed Awuzie from he was in Tennessee last year. Signed him at corner as well. And so linebacker-wise, I think Roquan got a little bit better. We're going to see if Trent Simpson can really lock in this year, and I think he can to kind of complement Roquan. Defensive line-wise, I think, once again, we still got those dogs up front. We added in Mike Green. I really want to see him ball out this year, the rookie out of from Marshall, man. I talked a lot about him in the mock draft with you and Hundo. And y'all only had faith in my boy Mike Green, but he's a Raven now. So I got faith. And watch what I tell you. I think he's really going to show the world something. I think he gonna show them that he dropping to the second round was a mistake. And dropping to Baltimore, you know what I'm saying? I think we needed some pass rush help. We got Van Noy and Owe, but we do a lot of rotating when it comes to that D line. And so I think having a pass rush and having an endless supply and some depth there really helps. Ojabo from Michigan, see if he takes a step this year. He needs to kind of stay in Baltimore after this season. Adisa Isaac, another defensive end guy from Penn State who will play with Owe. So I think we got some pieces depth-wise. Offensively, man, we just signed Rashad Bateman back. I thought that was a great signing for us because Rashad came in and had a career year last year after we gave him that first contract extension. And so I think that it was only right to pay him duly just this year with a 3-year, $36 million contract. Zay Flowers will be up for contract soon, so I think it was best to get that Rashad Bateman out first and then kind of follow up and pay Zay after. Tyler Linderbaum. We re-signed Ronnie Stanley. Lamar obviously still quarterback. Re-signed Derrick Henry to another deal. Keaton Mitchell's back at running back. He had tore ACL, so he's fully recovered from that. He said he's faster than he was before he got injured, which is crazy because he was super fast before. Then he's running a 4.2. So I mean, if he's faster than that now, I mean, the league might really be in trouble with us having a three-headed monster, even with Justice Hill back there as well. And so our biggest concern right now is going to be who's going to win off this left guard position in training camp. And right now, I think Andrew Voorhees, he's a second-year guy out of USC. He started actually last year, third-year guy, out of USC. He redshirted his rookie year. Last year he started, but he got injured again. And so this year he's fully healthy, looks like. He's been training super hard, so he's getting the nod right now to start at left guard. But we also drafted Emory Jones out of LSU. We still got Ben Cleveland out of UGA. So, I mean, we got some guys, man, that's going to be out there to protect Lamar. So, I mean, offensive line, I'm really excited, man. Like you said, I think in culmination, we have a really, really good roster to push for Super Bowl this year. So, I'm excited for it.
So, it's obviously Super Bowl or bust for Lamar. So
Yeah.
let's take Lamar out of the picture.
Yeah.
Who has to have a big year? Who are you looking forward to having a big year on the roster in order for y'all to win the Super Bowl?
Gotta have a big year. I mean, it's going to have to be defensively. I mean, I think our issue in the past couple of years hasn't necessarily been Lamar. I think Lamar has played a part into it, some of the turnovers, yes. But I think defensively wise, we have to stop people. That's the thing at the end of the day. We gotta get a stop, even if Lamar messes up. So I'm going to have to put it on the defense. I'm going to say we got to start out fast. Last year we started super slow. We were like 32nd in the league for the first like 6 or 7 weeks with passing defense. We can't come out like that this year. We got to come out heavy and getting picks and getting stops and all those kind of things, because that leads to us early success, right? And building up that confidence. We got a rookie once again in Malachi Starks. We got a second-year guy, Nate Wiggins. We got young linebackers. I mean, we need the vets. We need Cal Hamilton, beat Cal Hamilton again, all pro. We need Roquan, all pro. We need Marlowe again, all pro. We need, Metabike, get back, all pro. I need them 10 sacks again. We need Owe with another 10 sacks. We need Van Noy with another 10 sacks. We got to lead the league again in sacks. We've been really good with that the past 2 years, with leading the league in sacks. But I mean, we got to continue that kind of dominance. I think if we stop them from scoring, we win. That's the key. But I think one thing I didn't mention was this. Now that Justin Tucker's gone, we got a new kid, Tyler Loop. He's a rookie kicker out of Arizona. He's gonna have to come in, man, and not be a rookie. He'll be a grown man from day one. So he's gonna have a lot. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of eyes on him, right? Because we cut Justin Tucker amidst all the stuff that was going on, and just he had kind of fallen into some slumps in the past couple of years. And so now this rookie has to come in, and so if we have to potentially allow him to kick a game-winning field, we need to have some confidence that he can do that. Right, and I think that Baltimore does a good job when it comes to drafting free agent guys. He's the first kicker we've ever drafted. The first one. We've always had undrafted kickers, from Matt Stover to Billy Cundiff to Justin Tucker. All these guys were never drafted. So for this Tyler Loop kid to be drafted, I mean, Buddy got it. Gonna have to be tough. But so I mean, it's a lot of pressure.
Low key, it could be a blessing in disguise, because I feel like having Justin Tucker on the sidelines, it created this conservative feeling where I knew I could always get 3, right? Yeah. But you see like Harbaugh being more aggressive in the game plan now, where it's like, we could, be conservative and get 3 here, or we could go for 7, Yeah. Like going into the half, at the end of games, whatnot.
I agree with that for sure. I think we've been more aggressive, especially in the past couple of years, just because ever since we really had Lamar, it was always like, oh, it's 4th down. We got Justin Tucker, yeah, but we also got Lamar. So I think, like you said, I think definitely it does push us to say, yeah, let's stay on the field more, just in case. We don't necessarily know we got the rookie just yet. But I think, like I said, kind of what I've been saying with other teams in the AFC North, I think that preseason will give us an opportunity, and the training camp will as well, to see what we got. I think we'll take a lot more field goals, 3 points in the preseason, just to see, like, give them some practice reps, give them some live time game reps, and see like what we got. Because in the regular season, we can't take them chances. We can't. We got a tough out the gate with Buffalo in Buffalo. We got to come out dogfighting. We really can't rely on 3 points. You know what I'm saying? That whole game to win. So we got to lock in from game one. And I really truly believe like everybody's really in go mode. We've been too close to not win it. We've had
Yeah.
teams that should have won it. So like you said, the Super Bowl or bust for us, and we got to get there. So I think everybody really gonna be locked in. Everybody really gonna be in that zone. I've seen it. So we got mandatory minicamp next week. That'll give me some more determination. We signed D Hop. I always forget about we signed D Hop this year too. So now we really got a strong, one of our best receiving cores that we've ever had since Lamar's been there. And I've said that before, but this one it really is. It really is. I mean, we really got some guys. So I'm excited to see, man. Zay got bigger. He's been in the weight room. D Hop has been. They said D Hop ran one of the fastest times in OTAs this offseason. So I'm like, people think he lost a step, and it's like, yeah, y'all sleep. So that's really interesting.
Yeah, I just can't unsee what I saw in the Super Bowl with D Hop. Like that drop catch and I know it's just one drop catch, but it's like, man,
Yeah.
I remember with the D Hop I used to see, like in
Yeah.
Arizona and Houston, it just didn't seem like it was the same.